Alright, so we're going to talk about the file, how to read and write a file. So first let's start to look at, there's a file class. So the file class is intended to provide an abstraction that deals with most of the machine-dependent complexity of files and path. Names the machine, okay. In a machine-dependent fashion, the file name is a string. The file class is a wrapper class for the file name as directory path. So again, what's a wrapper class? Like int, we have an integer, right? So a class integer. Double, we have a double class. So those are the wrapper class, like the class with the type. So we have a wrapper class for the file too. Now this is the UML diagram for the file with all the methods. You can check if the file is existing. Can you read? Can you write? Right. Is it a file? Is it a directory or file here? Is it hidden? Well, you can get the absolute path, the path to the file. Get name, get path. Right. So you use this with the directory too. You can handle that. Now, this is just showing you on comparing between the Windows command prompt and Unix. Okay, so you talk about the program when you run. You're gonna see, does it exist? True. Can it be read? True. So we talk about those. This is the end product of when you use the methods, right? Like for each of the method, absolute path you get like that, right? So this, of course, in Windows and Unix you're going to see different path, right? So that's how it's going to print out. And if it's names, you just say get the name of the file right there. Is it a directory? False. It's not, because the file. Right. What's its path? So this is path. Absolute path, I mean you start from C colon, right? So this is the path from the file of the test file class. And you can get the last modified date. Path separator, use colon. File name separator, use slash. Okay, so if you create a file and you want to use the file class, it's going to show you like that. Now we can look at this. I think I have an example on the Git here. Not that. So let's just do it then. Create a new project. File demo, new class file. Alright, so let's look at the file. I'm going to check the, we're going to use file. I'm going to check the Java doc, okay, to look at a constructor, right? Then we know how to invoke and instantiate, right? Alright, so it's a class. You can look at the constructor can provide the path. name, URI. So I'm going to say, let's create a file first. New file. Let's say this is called test.txt. Right. And the path to the file should be here. This is the path, right? Under file demo. Make sure right click on the file itself and get this whole thing. Alright, so we get a path to a file. I'm going to just type something test in there. File a file equals to new file. And it says string, right, with a path. Now, when you use Eclipse, then you can either use // right? Remember, this is like escape sequence, right? For the path. Or you can do \. The constructor file string path name, same name. You should not, I need to rename the file here. It happened to be the same name. I should say file demo. So refactor this, rename it. Now we can use file now because .b refer to itself, and then we're going to import. It's from java.io, right? Okay, and I mean, since this is in the same folder, I don't really need to provide an absolute path, right? So if it's on different folder, yes, you have to provide the absolute path. Now we're going to invoke the methods, right? Just to test, like the file itself. We talk about file class, right? We can say, is it a directory? Right? It should say false because it's a file, right? So let me just show you. We can just invoke the methods by get absolute path, right? We should get the C colon, right? Get the name of the file. I'm gonna just test just 4, okay? The rest, I think you have an idea. Can I read? Like, can read and write this is important when you have to open, right? Because it can set the property to read only, right? So let's run. See that? It's very easy to use file. It's just a class already. We get the absolute path. It's not a directory, it's false. You get a name. Can you read? False. So it seems like set up. Now come back to, we learned the basic of the file class. And we just see how we write that out, right? We're going to talk about text file now. Now, why do we need text file? Think about, we've been creating a program so far. Whenever you close your program, what happens? You have to start over to enter the data again to test your program every time. Will it be convenient that all the data you enter right to the file? When you open it, you just actually read from the file back. Then you have the memory. You create a memory for your program now. Now your program is not having memory, right? So this is a starting point by using text file, right? Like for example, your program who do the authentication, instead of hard-coded your PIN code, right? Last time ATM, right? Instead of hard-coded your PIN code in the program, right? You can actually create a text file and have it listed on the text file, and then you can just read it in. Now you can create a list of users with different pins. You start to create something like a file to store data instead of a database, right? Now you can do authentication with your ATM authentication based on the pin by reading the list of the file now. That makes sense? So that's the benefit of this. Now, how do we use this? We learn the basic of a file, right? A file object encapsulates the property of a file or a path, and we just invoke those. It doesn't contain a method for reading and writing data though. Okay. It's only property of is it a file, is it a path, it can be read, what's the name. But I want to write to the file. I want to read from the file. Right? If I can write, then I can always create a new data. And when I close the program, it's going to write to the file. I don't lose the data, right? If I can read, then my application can pretty much just read from the file when I open it again. So in order to perform the input-output here, you need to create object using appropriate Java I/O classes. Right, we know file is under java.io. So we need another classes to help pretty much. And they are scanner and print writer. You already know how to use scanner from your first day that you learn Java, right? You start with system.out to write, and to read you use scanner, but you happen to use system.in as the argument to your constructor, right? So if you want to read from the file, you just going to instead of using system.in to the scanner constructor, you can just pass the file. That's it, to read. But we just need to handle the try catch pretty much. So this is to write, you just print writer. So to write, same file name that you want to write to. And this is just like system.out, but you just do print with a print writer instead of using system.out, because system.out to the keyboard, right? Print writer just to the file. That's it. So scanner, we talk about that. You already know this. You can read in text next. You read in numbers next in. You already know how to use them. But just different is the constructor. Just change it to file. Alright, so now let's look at how to do this. So I'm going to create a new class name read. So I already have the file name test dot right txt. I'm going to read the contents in. So we're going to start with scanner, right? So we're going to say file reader, okay, equals to new scanner. Normally we use keyboard, right, to read from the keyboard. This is going to read from file. So we have to create a new file and the name of the file that you want to read, right? Or you can provide the absolute path right there, right? And you need to import them, java.io for the file, and import this for the scanner. And of course, we talk about try catch, remember?